Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the earnings conference call of Dalmia Bharat Limited for the quarter ended 30th September 2021. Please note this conference call will be for 60 minutes, and for the duration of this conference call, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode. This conference call is being recorded and the transcript of the same may be put on the website of the company. After the management discussion, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Should anyone need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode. Before I hand the conference over to the management, I'd like to remind you that certain statements made during the course of this call may not be based on the historical information or facts and may be forward-looking statements. The forward-looking statements are based on expectations and projection and may involve a number of risks and uncertainties and other factors that could cause actual results, opportunities and growth potential to differ materially from those suggested by such statements. On this call, we have with us Mr. Puneet Dalmia, Managing Director, Dalmia Bharat Limited, Mr. Mahendra Singhi, Managing Director and CEO, Dalmia Cement Bharat Limited, Mr. Dharmendra Tuteja, CFO, Dalmia Bharat Limited, Mr. Rajiv Bansal, Group Head, Strategy and Transformation and other management of the company. And I'd like to hand the conference over to Ms. Aditi Mittal, Head Investor Relations. Thank you and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Vikram. Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you in the Q2 earnings call of Dalmia Bharat Limited. Hope you had a chance to go through the results and also the earnings presentation which we've uploaded on our website. If not, you can of course download it from our website under the investor section. I will not take much of your time and hand over the call to Mr. Dalmia for his opening remarks. Over to you, Mr. Dalmia.
Thank you, Aditi. Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Q2 earnings call of Dalmia Bharat Limited. We sincerely hope that you and your family are safe, healthy and vaccinated. Continuing our growth journey, the company has yet again delivered a healthy performance during the quarter, which was driven by our robust operating model, a strong brand, and an agile team. I'm delighted to note that we at Dalmia Bharat have remained positive in our outlook and productive in our lives, despite cruising through one of the most exceptional times in human history. The Indian economy has rebounded very strongly after the second wave, with the output of infrastructure industries expanding at 11.6% in August, primarily driven by coal, natural gas, steel and cement. The Indian economy is expected to grow between 9.5% to 10% in FY22 and between 6.5% to 7% over the next few years. This growth is going to be driven by an increase in rural consumption, housing and commercial real estate, and a massive thrust on infrastructure spending, such as on roads, highways, ports, airports, etc. Hence, we are very excited about a favorable macroeconomic environment for the sector. We feel thrilled about the opportunity and are well positioned to capitalize on the favorable demand environment. Our vision is to be a pan-India pure-play cement company, and we are aiming to take our cement capacity to between 110 to 130 million tons over the next decade. The market opportunity which we foresee ahead of us only reinforces our conviction about our vision. We are building plants of tomorrow with deep technology integration, which will enhance both our operational efficiency and sustainability. Keeping our commitment towards our stakeholders, we have continued the disinvestment in non-core assets, including IEX and the retail undertaking, the details of which will be shared by our CFO, Mr. Dharmendra Tuteja, later in this call. The Board of Directors of the company have proposed an interim dividend of Rs 4 per share for the financial year 22, in line with the capital allocation framework we rolled out last quarter. As we are expanding capacity, we are also making significant investments in our human capital, as we desire to build leadership teams which are future ready and aligned to our long-term goals. We are making collective efforts to multiply our people power and of tomorrow. With the swiftness of transformation which I am witnessing across our company and our people, I believe that we are just getting started and the best is yet to come. I thank you all once again for your valuable inputs and constructive feedback. We will continue to seek your guidance, support, and feedback from time to time. I would now like to hand over the call to Mr. Singhi for an update on the quarterly performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneetji. Friends, a very happy morning to all of you and welcome. I'm so happy to share with you a great performance made by our team despite witnessing heavy monsoons, floods, and some of the most unprecedented cost headwinds across our value chain. The revenue for the quarter was 2,577 crore, which grew at 11% on YOY basis. The sales volume displayed growth of 6% YOY at 5.1 million tons, while prices strengthened on YOY basis. There was a sequential decline in prices in our market, particularly East. The EBITDA for the quarter was at 621 crore, including a few one-off items, which our CFO, Mr. Dhamendra, will elaborate in his opening remarks. Friends, it is known to all of you that the energy market is witnessing some unprecedented price increases and supply chain disruptions, which seems to be affecting the economies world over. With economic activity picking up in most geographies, and winter setting up in most parts of the globe, the demand for crude and fossil fuel is only expected to inch up, thereby offering the little scope for a spike in prices. The domestic supply of coal, which got materially impacted till September, has now seen some little improvement in October. But sustainability has still to be come. In fact, the good news is that in last 2 days, China and few global countries, they are now trying to curb the abnormal prices of coal, abnormal prices of fuel, and we hope that maybe in a month or two, its impact may be visible in our country also. The escalation of input costs has been very steep over the last 1 year, but despite that, our EBITDA margin came in healthy at 24.1%, owing to our efficient and adaptable operating model. In fact, the focus which our team has been making on the cost management, on price management, on brand management has brought in good results. As you all may know, that the slag prices have seen a considerable increase over the last few quarters, and hence, in order to mitigate the impact, we successfully moved our product mix from Portland slag cement to Portland composite cement, which quality-wise is comparable as well the most sustainable product, and reduce the usage of slag. The PSC production declined from 27% in Q1 to 14% in Q2. The petcoke prices too have continued to increase and are at now maybe level of $220 to $240 compared to $80 to $120 in first quarter last year. Once again, our team has managed to moderate the impact through a reduced usage of petcoke from 47% in Q1 of this year to 33% in this quarter, and increasing the usage of coal and whatever say other lignite, etc. can be used. But given the current coal situation in the country and disruptions in the coal supply and prices, we could once again expect higher usage of petcoke in the coming quarters, which could drive up the variable cost. From a long-term perspective, we are putting this appropriate efforts at increasing the proportion of green fuel. During quarter 2, percentage of green fuel stood at 12% as compared to 9.1% in Q1. This is all the proactive actions which our team could take. Our team could visualize the future and could take right actions at right time. We are also expecting to add 9 megawatt of WHRS power and 70 plus megawatt of solar power in the later half of this year. All these investments will not only help in minimizing our costs, but would also help us to achieve our clean green sustainability goals Now, let me also share with you the update on the ongoing expansion. The new line of KCW in Odisha, having a capacity of 2.25 million tons, has been successfully commercialized in September, and now our current cement capacity stands at 33 million tons. Furthermore, clinker debottlenecking of 0.2 million tons has been already commercialized during this quarter. The trial run production of Morbi has begun now, and we are on track to start commercial production by December 21, which will take our cement capacity to 36 million tons by March 22. There has been significant progress made towards the balanced cement and clinker capacity expansion, which has been committed for completing by March 24. So I'm quite hopeful that the actions which our team has taken to expand the capacity and reach to a level of 48.5 million tons by March 24 would be completed well in time. Friends, we were in the global spotlight again at the TED Climate Conference at Edinburgh, UK, where we shared a blueprint of our business philosophy and heralded our journey towards a better future with the philosophy of clean and green is profitable and sustainable. And this has been the first time that on the global TED platform, a cement company could share their thoughts, which is otherwise called as hard to cement sector. Our bold commitments have also been well received, and we are now set to partner global leaders to establish the first mover coalition, which is called FMC, at COP26, which would be launched by Mr. John Kerry and World Economic Forum in Glasgow. Our company has been appointed as COP26 business leader by COP26 presidency, and accordingly, our company has been invited to attend and deliver our thoughts on how global cement sector can be also made possible to abate sector. I'm so happy that our journey towards clean and green is moving at fast pace, and then our commitment of delivering low carbon cement or the blended cement only from after FY25 is still in the place. Now, friends, I would request our CFO, Mr. Tuteja, to take over. But before that, let me wish you and all your family members, your team members, a very happy, clean, and prosperous Diwali. Thank you.
Thank you, Singhi, and good morning, everybody. I am pleased with the all-round performance which our company has delivered during Q2. The company has been continuously repaying its gross debt, and I am happy to share that we are a net debt-free company with net debt to EBITDA at minus 0.48 times. As Mr. Singhi had mentioned, I would like to highlight a few one-off P&L items which happened during this quarter. The incentive accrued during the quarter includes an amount of 56 crore pertaining to prior period from April 2019 to June 2021. It pertains to our unit in Dalmia DSP Limited. We have also written back liabilities to the tune of 24 crores pertaining to Dalmia DSP Limited, which are no longer payable, and these are classified as exceptional item. During the quarter, we have made provision of 30 crores towards an intercorporate loan given to Rewas Port in 2010, though we continue to explore the legal options for complete recovery. The capex during the quarter has been 440 crores, and during H1, it is 780 crores. We are on track on our expansion plans and believe that during current year, we would be able to spend about rupees 3,000 crores. At the recently concluded AGM, the shareholders had appointed Messrs. Walker Chandiok and Company as auditors of Dalmia Bharat Limited. They are member firm of Grant Thornton and are one of the big 5 audit firms. This was the first quarter with them as the statutory auditors of the company. Keeping our commitment to divest non-core assets, we have sold 21.4 lakh shares in IEX, and our stake in IEX now stands at 14.8%. In line with our capital allocation framework and our vision of building a pure play cement company, the board has approved the sale of master wholesaler business for construction and building materials of the company as a going concern on a slump sale basis to Hippo Stores Technology Private Limited, which is a promoter group company. The buyer has expressed its desire to acquire this business as a going concern by way of executing a business transfer agreement and has submitted a binding offer for the same. The company had appointed two independent valuers. Mrs. Pricewaterhouse and Company were appointed on behalf of the independent directors of the board, besides appointment of registered valuer, Mr. Ashish Dedia, for the sale. The independent directors considered and reviewed the valuation reports. The independent directors also considered and reviewed the binding offer received from buyer. After deliberations amongst the independent board members and the members of the management team, the board has approved the sale of the business to buyer for a consideration of rupees 115 crores. This consideration is as of 31st August 2021, and any further cash infusion in this business from 1st September onwards till the closure of the sale will be added to the agreed consideration of rupees 115 crores to arrive at total consideration. As per the terms approved by the board, 20% of the total consideration is to be paid immediately on closure of the sale, and the balance 80% is to be converted into unsecured, non-convertible debentures, redeemable after 2 years. The NCDs would carry interest rate of 10% per annum to be paid half yearly. The buyer has the option to prepay the amount of NCDs at any time. Based on discussions with buyer, we are given to understand that they are most likely to pay 100% of the consideration at the time of closure of the sale itself. The board has also directed the management to close the sale within 45 days from the execution of the business transfer agreement, but not later than 31st December 2021. During the quarter ended 30th September 2021, the assets and liabilities of this business have been shown as held for sale and presented as discontinued operations. With this, I would now like to open the floor for question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone phone now. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. We will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Ladies and gentlemen, to ask a question, please press star 1. We have a first question from the line of Sumangal Nevatia from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, many congratulations to the management on the progress on multiple fronts. So we see an impressive transformation in the last 12-18 months on the overall capital allocation strategy. We are divesting non-core assets, paying out debt, dividends, and also we see a lot of, improved transparency in the overall disclosure level. So this is very commendable. I have a couple of questions I want some clarifications on. Firstly, on the East pricing, sir. So you're seeing pricing in the East continues to be a bit weaker than other regions. And we do pick up from our dealers that the top 2-3 players are battling there for market. So any thoughts on East pricing? How do you see in coming quarters, and what has been the key reason for the weakness given our leadership there?
Thanks, Sumangal, for your appreciation and compliments. I would like to highlight to you is that East normally in the second quarter always remains weak, and if you look at prices of last quarter, last year, Q2 FY21 and FY22, you would find that the prices are almost at the same level. But at the same time, this year there has been very heavy rains, floods, as well because of after effects of COVID also. There has been drop in overall cement demand that has hampered the pricing. And now what we are seeing, particularly from 1st October onwards, that prices have started inching up, and November onwards, when demand would also grow up, I think prices of East may go up. Now, everybody tries to get their own share, and this depends on the policy of each and every company. So there has not been any new development if I compare with last year, before last year, in regard to the pricing strategy of broadly of a company or the marketing strategy. But then yes, whenever new capacities do come, people do try to overreach, and that may sometimes hamper the pricing. As far as our operations are concerned, our pricing is concerned, our market leadership is concerned, that's quite intact, and we have been doing good. And if I look now from August, September, October numbers, we are fairly now inching up, and the acceptance of our new product, which we started from April, now it has been established very well, and we are quite hopeful that when we end by March, we will be doing quite good, quite better in East.
Understand. So, Singhi, from what I understand, no region-specific issues there, and East prices should not be underperforming the other regions in the coming quarters. Is that a fair understanding?
Maybe, may not be. Like if you just scan the prices of last quarter India-wide, you would find that the prices have gone up high in North and West, thereafter Central, and then South, and then the East. So it doesn't go equally everywhere. But what we are now trying to understand is that one, consumer has been able to give some extra price, not only on cement, but steel and few others also, because of the very high cost of input, particularly energy. And that's why we have seen that the prices in East has gone up, ranging from state to state, from say 10 rupees to 25 rupees a bag. And this is how I think we are expecting that the prices should go further better.
Understood. Secondly, Singhji, on the quality, what we are picking from the dealers is there's been some issues and pushback on the quality of our cement in the last couple of months. So, I mean, any thoughts on what are we doing to address this, and by when can we resolve this issue?
Mr. Sumangal, I would like to share with you that quality issue has not been per se, but it was perceived that earlier that the new product which we have launched, which is composite cement, may not have the same quality of slag cement. But now the acceptability has come, and that's why this perception to some extent might have come. But if you would look now at the number of, say, September or October or November, then everybody would find that there are no pending issues in terms of even perception of composite quality. And another thing is that now other players are also joining this journey of low carbon cement, low slag cement. And with that, I think acceptability would further go up and up.
Okay, fair. Moving on to the capital allocation side, we've spent only 800 odd crores in the first half, which is almost, just 20% of our full year guidance. So how should we read this? Is it back-ended, or are we on track for the full year guidance, or there are some execution delays on the ground, what we are witnessing?
First, you have rightly understood, it is back-ended. Second, we are expecting now that we may be able to spend about 3,000 crore in totality in this year. So to that extent, there may be some gap here and there, but at the same time, I think we have been able to now complete our order for cement mills, which was a major task. So we have already committed for it, and we are hopeful that our journey of completing 48.5 million tons in next 2 years' time would be in place.
Understood. Just one last question, if I may squeeze in. On this IEX, we had a very good start to the year by divesting 25% of our stake. Now, given that IEX stock has done very well, do we expect, and also given we have a huge capex lined up, do we expect to continue on this journey of gradual divestment of our stake here?
So as and when, Sumangal, we decide our further strategy, definitely we would share, because you must have seen that now whatever our thoughts are, we are able to transparently share with all our stakeholders.
But that's the broad strategy, right? To gradually exit and divest completely. Is that right?
Sumangal, Rajiv here. That is right. I think we have clearly said in our capital allocation policy that we will keep coming out of our non-core assets, and IEX, as we see the need for making capex investments, we will keep diluting IEX. So that is on track.
Got it. Thank you so much, Rajiv and Singhi, for the detailed answers, and all the best. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. We have next question from the line of Bhumika Nair from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. So my first question is in terms of the East demand, which was kind of impacted in 2Q. And, thereby, given that we're taking further price hikes to pass on further cost escalation, will that have an impact on the likely growth in the second half, given that we already have a fairly decent base of last year?
I would say normally in cement, the prices have not impacted much on any demand because it's a very less elasticity on the prices. So I don't think prices would hamper any demand. But at the same time, I think the good months are coming up. So both demand would go up and prices should go up. And mainly that's also on account of a high input cost.
And so far, we said that we took about a 15 to 25 rupees kind of a price hike. What kind of price hikes do we need to take further to kind of pass on this rising raw material and fuel prices, particularly in terms of coal? And if you can talk about what was the consumption level in 2Q and what is the likely impact that we might see into the second half?
So broadly, I would say on fuel prices, there is uncertainty. Good part is that we have a large amount of pet coke which is already booked, so we don't expect any disruption in supply. But at the same time, the prices of even Indian coal have been also going up. Even in auctions also, government has also been increasing the prices. So I may not be able to quantify per se, but then definitely looking to the what overall the impact on cement cost is, companies and the market will go on leveling the prices.
Right. So if you can talk about the consumption, what was the coal price average or pet coke consumption in 2Q?
Yes. So I would say that if I compare with the Q1 to Q2 of this year, then we have been able to bring down our pet coke consumption to 34%. To some extent, our coal consumption of imported coal has gone up. Our coal consumption of Indian coal has gone up. To some extent, we have also started using lignite. And then, like I highlighted earlier also, that we have been able to increase the usage of green fuel, or you might be calling alternate fuel, to 12%, which will also inch up. So that way, we are trying to manage the overall cost. And one more thing here I may highlight is that we have been also able to bring down our heat consumption, which has also helped us in containing the cost of fuel for clinker and cement. So now our heat consumption, which was earlier, if I talk of last year, it was ranging between 770, 780. Now it's ranging around 730 kilocalorie per ton of clinker. So it has also helped us in, containing cost of fuel by maybe 80 to 100 rupees.
Right. So I was asking for per ton cost of coal stroke pet coke in the current quarter, 2Q.
Yes. So exactly, I may not be able to remember, but then, Dharmender, are you aware about it? Should be 800 something as far as the fuel is concerned.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The total power and fuel cost is about 990 rupees per ton.
Okay. I'll come back on
the
that.
total power and fuel.
Yeah. So basically, I was trying to understand the coal consumption at price, say an average of $120, $130 versus today's spot of upwards.
So Bhumika, if I can come in, on an average, the consumption rate for our input on power and fuel has somewhere ranged around $120 to $130 per ton.
Okay, that helps. Just lastly, in terms of freight cost, we've seen a reduction in freight on a QoQ basis between 1Q and 2Q despite rising diesel prices. So if you can elaborate on the reason for the same and what is the distances like?
Yes. So, on lead distance, we have been able to bring down our lead distance maybe by 12 to 14 kilometers. That is one part. Secondly, various initiatives which we took, one on digitization, and secondly, now tracking our truck movements well in time, that has helped us. Third, one of the one-time element of 16 crore railway incentive, which has also come in. And on that account, if I talk of YOI basis, our logistic cost has gone up by maybe 3.7%. But considering 16 crore, our logistic cost has gone up by 1%. But if you just look at, we have been able to contain the logistic cost in spite of increase in diesel prices. If we would not have taken all the measures to contain the logistic cost or make it efficient, then this logistic cost might have gone up by 7 to 8%.
Got it, sir. Wish you all the best. I'll come back in the question queue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Girish Chaudhary from Spark Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. Couple of questions. Firstly, what is the kind of inflation you're seeing in the procurement of slag? And what would be the CC ratio now, considering that you have reduced slag production?
Slag production, or I would say the production of Portland slag cement has reduced, but overall CC ratio has not reduced much because instead of now we are using partially slag and partially fly ash to make composite cement. So per se on this account, the conversion ratio has not gone down much. Secondly, I would say that slag prices they are expected to go up to some extent. We were able to maintain or reduce the increase of slag prices in this quarter, but in time to come it may go up. Now it's difficult to project how much volume or price wise it will go up.
If you can help us with the per ton procurement cost of slag in 2Q. On average basis, this would be ranging from say 1100 to 1300 rupees. It may not be right to just give you the exact number, but then yes, it will be ranging from 1100 to 1300 rupees. Okay. And then let's say in the future, hypothetically, if the price of slag comes down, will you again start increasing PSC mix?
Now we have decided that the composite cement, which is a good quality cement, a sustainable cement, a low carbon cement, low cost cement. So we would continue to work on this composite cement, and this is the cement of the future.
Got it. And then I have a last question. This is in terms of if you can help us on the blended sales this quarter versus the last quarter. And then given you have plans to increase blending to 100%, so if you can elaborate on the plans to increase this at a market level.
So I would say that yes, that plan of increasing blended cement and ultimately leading to 100% by 25, that's in place, and accordingly strategies have been created, and then we have been also able to increase our blended cement or PPC production. One in southern India, where it was mainly for OPC, particularly institutional sale and part of the retail sales in few states. So there we have been able to make good inroads. And secondly, the same is also happening in northeast market also. And Aditya, would you like to give the percentage of blended cement?
Yes. So our blended cement was at about 75% during the quarter. Previously, it was at around 80%. while there was a slight dip during the current quarter in terms of the percentage of blending, but I think the long term we remain intact in our thought process that by 25 we want to take it up to 100%. And even if you see the last 3 years, consistently from around 70 to 73% on an average on a full year basis, we've touched 80%, the highest being about 82 odd percent in H1 FY21. So I think we're on track. Probably with a little dip this quarter, we'll be in place to take it to 100% by 25.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. In the interest of time and fairness to all participants, ladies and gentlemen, please restrict questions to 2 per participant. If you have still more questions, please join the queue afresh. We have next question from the line of Swagato Ghosh from Franklin Templeton. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hope I'm audible. So the first question I had was the fuel cost. Did I hear you right when you said $120 to $130 per ton is your realized cost? And is it for the imported part, only imported petcoke and coal combined? Can you please confirm that?
This has been shared that if you take everything into account, then the comparable price is $120, $130. This is what Aditya said.
Okay. So, sir, I just want to understand how did you manage to get the cost to this level? Because even if I take like 2-3 months lag and petcoke and coal were both above $150, so how is our realized cost this much? Can you help me understand this bit?
Yes. So, few things. One, we had some inventory. Second, the Indian coal, which we could procure well in time before this higher auction prices, that has helped us. Third, to some extent, we could use lignite. Fourth, the green fuel which we are using. So, mix of many things has helped us to, contain some cost.
Okay, so this 120 to 130 is even considering the cost of Indian coal.
Yes.
So it's a mix of the consumption cost, which also includes the green fuel. So I think average, that's how our consumption have been on a comparable basis to the last quarter.
Okay, and what is the mix of domestic versus imported fuel, domestic fuel and imported fuel, when we consider both the CPP and the kilns?
So I said that petcoke is 34%, then maybe 28-30% maybe imported coal, and then maybe 28-30% Indian coal and lignite, and balance 12% or so is green fuel.
Okay, this is overall. Okay, and sir, the next question we have. Sorry, the next question I had is on that the write-off of 30 crores that you took this quarter, small amount, but I just want to understand the timeline for this. When was this given, and any details that can be shared around the rationale of this loan given?
Dharmender?
Yeah. So this loan was given in 2010. Of course, this loan was being serviced, and last 2 years we saw some delays or defaults happening. And considering the risk of recovery, because since the interest for the last 2 years has not been serviced, so we took a decision on a prudent basis to impair this loan. Of course, the legal options will be taken to recover this.
Okay, so sorry, the rationale and which industry was this corporate working within? Some details on that.
It was given to Dewas Port in 2010. So general corporate purpose loan.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have next question from the line of Indrajit from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I have a few questions. First, can you throw some light on the demand-supply dynamic of this green fuel? Some of your peers have highlighted that availability of green fuel has now become very stretched, and prices of that as well meaningfully in the last few months. How are you seeing that for us in terms of
I presume they must be right because there are challenges in one, procuring it, processing it, then using it, and it's not that cakewalk. But at the same time, at a few places, we have some long-term contracts. But otherwise, availability of green fuel, that would remain a challenge. And unless now major development happens at the municipalities and certain chemical and pharmaceutical companies, the challenge here.
So maximum technically how much we can go in terms of proportion? Can this 12% go to say 20% in the next few quarters?
It is still to be tried out because in India so far the segregation of municipal waste, segregation of even hazardous waste is not that proper. On account of that, you have to just go step by step. Of course, you have to keep your ambitions high, but you have to go step by step, and then only the new technicalities will come in place. So, and this will not apply to each and every company that if A company is able to use this much or this fuel, then B company would be also able to use, because it also depends on what type of other fuel you use, what type of limestone qualities you have. So many factors, and at the same time, the mindset and vision of the management team.
Sure, thanks. My second question is again relating to power cost. If I hear you correctly, this quarter our power cost was 990 rupees per ton. This is a sharp decline from about 1054 we had last quarter per ton in your presentation as reported. So is that understanding correct? We had a decline in power cost per ton, and is it mainly because of mix? Because absolute, like per ton basis cost has not gone down.
This is power and fuel cost. It's just not only the power cost, it's the power and fuel cost, that is one. And secondly, two more whatever I've said about the procurement of fuel and its cost. Secondly, like I highlighted, that we have been able to improve on two things. One, heat consumption per ton of clinker from say 770, 780 to we have been able to reach to 730. So 40 kilocalorie makes the difference. That is one. Secondly, we have also been able to bring down our power consumption per ton of cement to now 62 kWh per ton of cement. And I would say in India and maybe globally also, this would be one of the lowest power consumption per ton of cement. So that has also helped us to contain the cost.
Sure. Thank you. One last question, if I may. At EBITDA line, we have two one-off incentives. Is that understanding correct? 56 crore on the revenue side and 16 crore on the railway incentive. So a total of 72 crores. Is that math correct, or is it like
yes.
accounting?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing is that this freight incentive, we have got one more year of freight contract pending. So this income will come again in the coming year. So you can say 1 year income has been accrued in this quarter, but next year also 1 year income will come.
Okay, so the lumpy thing will be there in one of the quarters next year. Is that correct?
Yeah. And also for the DBSPL incentive, yes, 56 crores pertains to the earlier period, but every quarter income will keep coming now because the incentives have been sanctioned.
Okay, so the 16 crore railway thing will come again sometime next year, but 56 crores is one. All right.
And
one last.
We expect. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I just had a question on the Bihar grinding unit. Any progress on that?
Yeah.
Yes. So we are in the final stage of identifying the land and concluding and making the land registry. So that's the status today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Kamlesh Bagmar from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sangeet, just one question. I do appreciate the focus of the company on the sustainability and ESG part. But see, sir, if we see our waste heat recovery or renewable share, even if I take FY24, then it would be moving up to 25%. But if we see the peers, they are way ahead of us, I won't name the peers, but all are targeting upwards of 35%. So, the company has been harping very aggressively that we are looking for the zero carbon and all those things. But if we see on the numbers, that really is not the picture. So can you give some clarity on that part?
Yes, yes. Definitely, because of right reason, we started late on one WHRS and solar power plant, but now we are catching up our own speed, and the immediate action plan which we have created, which says that by FY23 we should be 25% in our green power, and at the same time now we are creating some different models by which we can share that how we would be reaching 100% by 2030. So that would be in place. We are competitively, you may say that yes, we may be lower than one or two companies, but point is we are on our road map, and we know that in next 1 or 2 years what sort of developments are going to take place, which will help us not only in creating a green power, but then that may also be helpful for us to creating the green carbon credits also. So we are waiting for the opportune time to start those projects. That's a conscious call which we have taken. So like now, after a week, COP26 is going to start, where some important decisions may come out in regard to international carbon market, and then we will make out our strategy. We are fully committed for our carbon negative roadmap. We are fully committed for 100% renewable, but at the same time, we are also fully committed for our profitability also. And we know how and when to take the actions and decisions. Thank you.
And secondly, sir, on the part of this Bihar and like the various capex programs which are underway, sir,
yes.
Bihar, like say, no doubt we have been telling or we had stretched our timeline for that unit. But sir,
yes.
like 2 years back or 3 years back, we were guiding that this unit would come up, like say by end of FY22 or that particular period. And till now we have not identified the land, or maybe we have reached to that particular stage, and now we are seeing that the land acquisition would be getting under. So what's the clarity or what's the visibility on the expansions which we are working as well? So like 2 grinding units is
yes.
2 greenfield grinding units we are committing on. So what's the timeline on that particular part as well?
So first in totality, the timeline is there where we are committed and actions are on for 48.5 by March 24. That is one. Secondly, we already now got land allotted from Jharkhand government to put up new grinding unit in Bokaro. So that process has already been completed, and now we'll be starting our construction after getting EC, etc. And third, surely there has been some delays or major delay in Bihar grinding unit, and we are trying to catch up. But at the same time, the cement grinding capacity which we have today, so because of that, we are able to cater to our Bihar market also, both from our Odisha unit, Rajgangpur unit, as well as from our Bokaro unit. So good part is that we are not losing much market share, but at the same time, yes, it has impact on somewhat impact on logistics cost. So definitely corrective actions are being taken, and there has been hiccups in this, and that's why we have been sharing the latest progress. And at the same time, we have already placed order for 4 cement mills, and the progress regarding putting up grinding unit in south, that's on. So we are fully hopeful, and we can commit to you that things would be in place at the right time.
So has it been ordered? Because in the press release we are saying that in H2 the ordering will be done.
And fortunately, H2 has started from 1st October, and today we are talking on 28th.
Okay.
So H2 has started.
And so lastly, my last question, on the 2 units, on one in Northeast and in the Tamil Nadu, both the units have been performing way below our expectation, Like so both units are not able to even go beyond 60-65% utilization levels, and that is not for a year. That has been for the 5-6 years consecutively. And we are putting two greenfield grinding units in Tamil Nadu, where I believe the clinker would be sourced from the Tamil Nadu Rilur and another Dalmiapuram. So how certain we are on the part of the higher clinker utilization at that Tamil Nadu unit and even Northeast?
First, let me address Tamil Nadu. So in Tamil Nadu, our volume is growing up, and good part is that the cement demand is also growing. Most important is that the overall cement demand should grow, but at the same time, our market share should also grow, and we are on that path, and that's why there's a judicious decision by us to put up a grinding unit so that it can support both, one, higher volume, and secondly, the higher blended cement also. So that way, all marketing activities are in place, and by March, when you see the results, you will find that yes, that graph is on upper side. Secondly, on Northeast, which unit you are referring to?
So both Adhunik.
They are performing quite well, and we must try to understand that these all units are meant for Northeast, and now in last 2 years you would find that the market the demand of cement is growing in Northeast, and accordingly we have been also able to bring up our market share. Always the management strategy has to be, and our management strategy is that we should take proactive action, and we should be able to, one, generate right EBITDA and right return on capital employed. So that if you look at, we have been able to do that in Northeast in last 2-3 years, and we are preparing ourselves for the good market, because the way government is focused on earlier it was look east, now it's a look Northeast also. So we are expecting good growth in cement demand in Northeast, and accordingly we would always remain prepared.
Thanks a lot, Singhji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly restrict questions to one per participant. We have next question from the line of Amit Murarka from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. So, first question is on the East market actually. So while I understand that the East market saw a tough quarter from rain and cyclone, but South India did quite well, and we've already seen that in some of the companies that are reported. So, like the thought that was there is that you had a lot of expansions in East, so at least there should have been some market share gain, which doesn't seem to have happened. So, any specific reason that why earlier we used to talk about capacity constraints, so now that constraints are not there, why is the volume ramp up not coming through? Just some thoughts on that.
I'm sure you know about the whole India market, and if you scan the whole India market also, then you will find that the cement demand on YOY basis has only gone down in East, whether it's for A player or Z player. So when the demand overall has gone down, then definitely it will impact each and every player. It's just not A company, B company or C company. And secondly, our expansions are not for today, tomorrow. They are for next 5 years, next 7 years. So accordingly, these expansion decisions are there. And our market share, you will find that essentially it will also go up, because now our capacities are in place. So we don't expect that our capacity utilization would remain low next year. But then yes, these are the ramp-up processes which do happen, and the natural calamities, the health calamities that has impacted every cement company in East. Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Prateek from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. My question is on incentives accrued in total incentives accrued in first quarter and first half, and what is the outlook on annual incentives now?
The incentive accrued in the first half is 113 crores, and you can expect around 120 to 130 crores in the second half also.
Second quarter, how much was that?
Okay, the second quarter, just a minute. Close to about 80 crores or 85 crores.
80 crores, and so now we are moving to 250 crore kind of annual incentive. So is this number which will sustain going forward? Because earlier we used to say 120 to 140 crore kind of annual incentive.
Yeah, because we're going to start Murli operations also in the second half. That will have incentives, so that will sustain.
So 200 plus is the right number now to take?
For current year, yes.
No, not for current year. As an outlook for 23-24 also.
Yes, please.
Okay. And just one question on, sir mentioned about September being very bad. So is October also worstly impacted because of some non-seasonal rain in some of the eastern markets and a down on a year-on-year basis for industry?
You are right.
Sure, sir. These are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Devesh Agarwal from IIFL Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. Quickly, the realizations drop that we saw on the sequential basis, if you can help me understand how much was on account of mix change, whether it is a trade, non-trade or geographical mix change?
Mainly the drop has been because of the drop in prices both in south also, in east also. In totality, if you want to scan, then maybe 5 to 10% of the total drop may be on account of mix change. But otherwise, in general, it is the overall price drops of industry both in south and east.
And what about the share of non-trade, sir, in the quarter?
In the quarter, it may be 38% or so. Aditi? Okay, it will be shared.
Sure, sir. And the Bihar incentives that we have got in the quarter, for how many years still we have the incentives to get?
This is till March 24.
Till March 24. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Just on the trade percentage, the trade percentage is at about 62% this quarter.
So 37% is the non-trade?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Puneet Dalmia for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, once again, everyone for their interest and their feedback. As I said that the economy is bouncing back, and we are very hopeful that with our capex plans and, with the, positioning that we have in the markets, the best of the company is yet to come. So I look forward to continuing our engagement with you and wishing all of you a very happy Diwali in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
friends. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Dalmia Bharat Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining with us, and you may now disconnect your lines.